This 21-year-old mother vanished from her home in broad daylight. When police arrive at the scene, all they find are her 2 young children, alone and crying. They have no idea where she is or why she disappeared. But everything changes when 911 receives a disturbing call from the mother herself while being kidnapped.
911.
My name is Denise, and I just want to see my kids again.
Trapped in her kidnapper's car, she's managed to steal his phone and dial 911 without his knowledge. On the call, she makes it seem like she's talking to the kidnapper, but in reality, she's giving crucial information to the dispatcher.
What's your home address, do you know?
Just come into my house. I'm a please.
But what the kidnapper doesn't know is that she's the daughter of a veteran agent trained to track fugitives, and she's doing exactly what her father told her to do in a situation like this.
Do you have a blindfold on?
I can't see. Mommy.
The kidnapper's phone is a burner phone, so her father can't trace her exact location. Her only chance of survival is to gather information from the kidnapper before he realizes what she's doing.
What is the address that you're at?
Where are we going?
It's now up to her and her father to work together and leave more clues for him to follow in the hope that he can stop whoever took her and find her before it's too late.
I have helicopters, dogs, and every unit on it. I'm not going to give up until I find my daughter.
Charlotte County, Florida. Sergeant Rick Goff met his wife, Susan, over 20 years ago, and together they've built their life in Charlotte County.
Working for the sheriff's office so long, I was considered the toughest person around and stuff. And since I worked undercover so long and didn't care about anybody, and then I can remember when Denise was born, we took her to Methodist church for daycare. I had to drop her off that day, and I'm fighting back, tears and stuff like this, because that's my baby girl,
As the years go by, Rick watches Denise grow into a young woman, and before long, he witnesses her finding the love of her life, Nathan Lee.
Oh, look at that cute face. What's up?
We started dating on January 19th, which, Valentine's Day is like almost a month after that. I was kind of getting nervous because I didn't know what to do. She found that ring with the heart on it with a little stone in the middle of it. I know it doesn't sound very special or romantic, but that ring was more special than even her engagement ring.
In 2005, the couple marries and sets off to begin a new life, buying a house in a nearby residential area. 3 years later, Rick has become the proud grandfather of 2 boys, Noah, a 2-year-old, and Adam, just 6 months. It's now January 17th, 2008. Around 3:30 p.m., Rick gets a phone call from his son-in-law, Nathan. He picks it up and immediately asks if they'd like to come over for dinner, but Nathan quickly cuts him off and says he's just gotten home and can't find Denise anywhere.
I opened the door, and the first thing I noticed was the heat. It was super hot inside. I walked over into the bedroom because Noah was crying, but Denise she's not there, and I don't know where she is.
Nathan said the kids were there by himself, and I knew for a fact Denise would never leave those kids in the house, so I knew something was wrong.
Rick doesn't waste a second and rushes to his daughter's house. Nathan has already called 911. By the time Rick arrives at the house, police officers are already talking to Nathan. Their tone makes it clear. They see him as a suspect in his wife's disappearance.
And I understand it. You watch a lot of these types of shows and it's always the husband. But luckily, Denise's dad arrived and that changed everything.
As soon as the officers see Rick and realize that Nathan is his son-in-law, they immediately back off. They know Rick well from his long career as a respected cop and expert fugitive tracker and trust his judgment.
In law enforcement, you always think it's the husband or family member, but I knew Nathan didn't do anything to Denise. Nathan and Denise lived out there by themselves with one neighbor. My first instinct, I wanted to go and interview the neighbor.
While talking to the neighbor, she brings up something strange she had noticed around 2 p.m. She recounts seeing a green Camaro pull into Denise and Nathan's driveway, driven by a white man she had never seen before.
And she goes, when he pulled in the driveway, he kept staring at me. So I got scared and I ran inside of my house.
His mission is now clear. Find the green Camaro. Rick immediately calls his own colleagues for backup.
Right away, I called my team for support, and they immediately gave me everything I needed. Helicopters, dogs.
Put out a bolo to FHP2, please, for a dark green Camaro.
Patrol cops comb the area, desperately trying to locate the car described by the witness, while Rick stays glued to the radio. His entire community is on the case. Before we continue Denise's story, we'd like to thank today's video sponsor, ZocDoc. Sponsors like ZocDoc help us continue our mission of sharing powerful survivor stories. At Unseen, with everything that goes into researching and editing, taking care of our health can be hard with a schedule that never really slows down enough to see a doctor. And the whole process is frustrating. You not only have to find a specialist, but also call their office and sometimes sit on hold for hours, only for the next available appointment to be months away. With ZocDoc, it's now easy to prioritize your health, and it's totally free. Just go to the search bar, select your region, and search for whatever health concern you have. ZocDoc has over 150,000 providers with detailed profiles and reviews, many with availability within 24 to 72 hours, or maybe that same day, making the booking process simple and straightforward. If you've been putting something off, even something small, this is your sign to stop waiting and click the link. You deserve to stop carrying around what-ifs and put yourself and your well-being first, no matter your busy schedule. Taking care of your health just got easier. Head to ZocDoc.com/unseen to get started and check that appointment off your to-do list. And now, back to Denise's story. In the neighboring county of Sarasota, at 6:13 p.m., a 911 operator answers a disturbing call from a woman in distress.
911.
I'm sorry, I just want to go.
Hello?
I'm sorry, I just want to see my family. I want to see my family again, please.
As soon as the operator understands that the caller has been kidnapped, she immediately tries to identify who the woman is.
What's your name?
My name is Denise. I met your beautiful husband, and I just want to see my kids again.
Your name's Denise. What's your last name?
The operator is starting to catch on to the dangerous game being played on the other end. The kidnapped woman has called 911 directly from her abductor's phone without his knowledge, and she's desperately trying to get across enough information to the operator before he figures out what she's secretly doing.
What's your home address, do you know?
I don't know. Can you take me to my house? Can you take me home? I'm okay, please.
Can you see or do you have a blindfold on?
I can't see. Mommy.
Can they turn off the radio or turn it down?
I can't hear you. It's too loud. Hey.
But suddenly, the kidnapper catches on. He realizes where his phone is, and the phone call abruptly ends.
Help me.
Don't. I lost them. Chris, I lost her. The guy grabbed the phone from her.
The operator immediately reports the disturbing call to her superior, and they contact Rick, asking if he can confirm if the voice on the phone is his missing daughter, Denise.
I need that recording ASAP.
If you have the voice recording, they'll be sending it by email.
And I listened to it on his phone. And it was her voice. She was under stress in there. She was screaming and crying and stuff like that.
Hearing his daughter in distress on the phone is a devastating experience for a father, and Rick has been on the force long enough to recognize the terrible danger Denise is in, but his daughter is smart and he's taught her everything she needs to know in the event of a situation like this one.
Kind of made it sound like she was talking to him while she's really talking to dispatch. She was smart.
Even though she was terrified, Denise cleverly disguised as many clues as she could into her conversation with her kidnapper while on the line with 911. She's doing exactly what she knows will help her father find where she is. But since the kidnapper's phone is a burner phone, they can't pinpoint her exact location. The clues she left on her 911 call are the only new leads they have to go on. After hearing Denise's call, Rick updates his family, including his wife and Nathan, about the situation. At least they now know Denise is alive.
The call from Denise came in. That was the first ray of hope.
I couldn't keep my brain from diving in to what she was going through. I just couldn't get it out of my head.
Just then, another clue comes in from the Sarasota Sheriff's Office. For a moment, Rick is elated, thinking perhaps they've found his daughter. Instead, he receives a recording of a different 911 call that came in at 6:22 p.m., just 10 minutes after Denise's, from someone alleging to know the kidnapper's identity.
Police emergency operator Bono.
I just got a call from my dad, and his cousin came over his house. He borrowed a shovel from the gas tank with a girl in the car, and she was tied up. And the girl got out of the car, and my dad's cousin went and put her back in the car.
What's the cousin's name?
Mikey King.
Michael King. And what does he look like?
I just know he has dark hair, he's white.
What's the cousin driving?
A green Camaro.
They finally have a name, Michael King. He matches the description from Denise's neighbor's witness statement, including the fact that he drives a green Camaro. Rick's first thought when Denise was kidnapped had been perhaps she was taken by someone connected to his job, a criminal seeking revenge, but Michael King's name means nothing to him. Michael King owns a house on Sardinia Avenue in Northport, Florida, a few minutes from Denise's house. With Rick in close contact, a raid squad rushes to King's house, but as soon as they arrive, they're disturbed by what they find.
We have the house surrounded with the 3 units on scene. 2 of us are in plain clothes.
Nobody's coming to the door. They don't see any car.
There is a TV on and it sounds like voices in the home. Airport, the 2 marked officers at the front. I can't see that the uniform officers there.
As they enter the house, the blaring TV is the only sound they can hear. The volume is turned all the way up, echoing through the empty rooms. Most of the furniture is gone, and trash is scattered everywhere. When they finally clear the house, they're devastated. Denise isn't there.
We do have an arcade watered up in a bedroom with long strands that look like long brown hair.
But it's clear she had been in the house, perhaps even just minutes before. In the bedroom, the squad discovers a makeshift bed with a hair elastic hidden amongst the blankets, along with duct tape with long, light brown hairs attached, hair that looks very similar to Denise's. Rick's heart sinks. In his years on the force, he knows that a change of location is a dangerous turning point. When a victim is moved, the chances of a live rescue begin dropping. If he doesn't find her in the next few hours, he might never see his daughter again. Not only that, but her children will lose their mother forever. Meanwhile, a 911 dispatcher in Charlotte County receives a call from a witness at 6:30 p.m. reporting a possible kidnapping.
911, where's the emergency?
I'm on 41 going south, and I was at a stoplight, and a van pulled up next to me, and like a Camaro, and they were screaming in the car, like screaming, and not a happy scream, like get me out of here scream.
The woman tells the operator she's concerned after hearing screaming and banging coming from a Camaro driving next to her. The caller asks if she should try to follow the car, but before clear instructions are given, the driver of the Camaro seemingly senses he's being followed and makes a maneuver to lose his tail.
He's turning left right now. I don't know if I can catch up to follow him.
He blows through a red light.
Oh boy, there's a bunch of traffic and I can't get over.
In an instant, the green Camaro disappears from sight. And it's at this moment, in the 911 center, that a crucial mistake is made. The operator passes on the caller's complaint, but there's a miscommunication. No officers are dispatched to the green Camaro's last known location, and the rest of the team searching for Denise, including Rick, never hear about the call. Tragically, just like that, Denise vanishes into the night with her kidnapper. It's now 9:15 p.m., more than 6 hours since Denise was kidnapped, and several hours since any of the previous 911 calls. Rick, his wife, Nathan, and Denise's siblings are frantic. They have the kidnapper's name. They've found his house, where signs suggest someone had been held. They know his car, its color, its license plate, every detail. So, how is Denise still nowhere to be found? Rick tirelessly continues his search for his daughter, exploring every possible avenue. All the while, he stays glued to his police radio, desperate for any kind of update. Suddenly, he hears something. A green Camaro has been spotted, and highway troopers and sheriff's deputies are in pursuit.
I heard on the radio how it would have chased them till their tires fell off that night, I can tell you that.
Central Florida tag, green Camaro, not stopped, just following.
Tag is verified by FHP.
He picks up the radio and listens closely as the arrest unfolds.
Central, all units, be advised.
FHP has a date of stop. Michael King is 1012. Female is...
But suddenly, the radio goes silent, and just as Rick asks law enforcement on the scene for an update via his radio, he's cut off by devastating news.
Female is not with the vehicle.
Michael King is alone in the car. Somehow, Denise is still missing, and now the question remains, if she's not with her kidnapper, then where is she? Michael King is taken into custody. He's brought to the station and immediately placed in an interrogation room. Investigators expect that he will reveal Denise's location, clinging to the hope that she is still alive. Instead, they're stunned when he tells a very different story, insisting that he was the one kidnapped and that he, too, was a victim.
When you saw me, you told me that you come out to me and said you were the hostage. You were a victim, you were a hostage.
Right.
You understand that? Okay. So that is true? Okay.
Police don't buy his story, but Michael refuses to budge, sticking firmly to his version of events. Time, however, is running out, and so investigators work with what they have and begin a thorough search of his car. They discover a heart-shaped ring in the back seat of the green Camaro. To confirm if the ring belongs to Denise, they call in Nathan and Rick.
Detective Morales called me and said there's some jewelry that was left in his vehicle that they needed me to identify to see if it was hers.
I need you to go ahead and describe her jewelry. He had a heart necklace with a stone in it. Her wedding ring was white gold, and she also had a silver heart ring. Is this her ring? Yes. That's the first ring I gave her, first Valentine's Day. How confident are you that's her ring?
With the ring confirmed to be Denise's, police return to Michael and decide to play along, pretending to believe his story in hopes that he'll reveal more about Denise's whereabouts.
You're the only person right now that can tell us what happened. We need to find where she is, and we need to find out from you what was going on.
But Michael quickly senses the trap.
No, it's my attorney.
But with Michael requesting an attorney, the interrogation stops there. Detectives are no closer to finding Denise, and with every passing moment, the trail grows colder. Meanwhile, Rick and his family continue holding out hope that Denise could be found, still alive, but lost, in a remote area, or maybe stranded on the side of the road somewhere.
We still had hope that she could still be alive.
It is not the point to give up, and it's not the point to say, we're defeated. No.
The community rallies around Rick and his family, with local deputies, law enforcement, and everyday civilians joining the search for Denise around the highways and forests nearby. It's now January 19th, just 2 days after Denise's kidnapping, when Rick gets a call from his team about a possible sign of Denise's whereabouts.
13709.
Call came in, says, hey, we think we got a spot of interest.
Did you bring their bloodhound down there?
Search dogs are brought to the site, where they detect a patch of disturbed ground covered with sand with possible traces of blood. Perhaps Denise was injured and somewhere nearby. However, as they search the surrounding area for any other sign of Denise, the bloodhounds remained fixated on the small patch of dirt. Forced to finally acknowledge the tragic possibility that Denise may not be alive, authorities call in a unit to excavate the site, and what they discover is devastating. They find a body, and there is no doubt it is Denise Lee.
I heard on the radio, came in a couple hours later, there was positive ID on her. Then I had to sit down, we had to tell our kids, and that's tough. It's heart-wrenching.
Rick came home and said that they had found her. I said, she's not alive, is she? And he just shook his head, no.
It's a tough thing to go through, no matter if it's your kid or anybody else's.
August 24th, 2009. It's time for Rick, Nathan, and the rest of the family to finally face Michael King in court. Michael is charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, and sexual battery. Unfortunately, he pleads not guilty to all charges. The family is forced to go to trial against Michael King to get justice for Denise. And, though Denise's family knows exactly who is responsible for the crime, the jury will have to be convinced of his guilt too.
I try to keep telling myself that you're sitting here and you're going to get what you deserve.
King's defense is strong, drawing attention to the gaps in the prosecution's case, including the lack of a murder weapon.
No 9mm handgun was found out on Plantation Boulevard.
That's correct, sir.
Because we didn't have a gun, that was a hole. That was a big hole.
As the trial proceeds, including testimony from the 911 caller who allegedly witnessed the kidnapping from her car, the same witness whose call tragically never reached Rick and his team conducting the search.
A hand came up from the back seat and was banging on the window very loudly.
Are you able to show the jury?
And even louder than that, I mean, it was very loud.
Unfortunately, her credibility is diminished by the defense upon cross-examination, throwing her ability to positively identify King into question.
You can't identify who the person was in the vehicle, can you?
No, I cannot.
There's also doubts raised about circumstantial evidence found in King's car, including a mud-covered shovel and gas tank, referenced in that second 911 call where Rick and his team learned Michael King's name. Even though King was arrested covered in mud and Denise's body was found buried, there's not enough of a connection there to impress a jury. The trial is difficult for Denise's family as they hear more about the facts of the case. Then, the family is forced to relive Denise's harrowing ordeal as her 911 call is played for the jury.
Please, my name is Denise. I'm your beautiful husband, and I just want to see my kids again.
Her distress echoes through the courtroom, sending chills through everyone present. But in spite of Denise's terror, her secret call serves as powerful evidence against King. The jury hears Michael King's voice in the background. Not only that, but they also hear her brave attempt to give the 911 operator clues as to her whereabouts.
Are you going to let me out now? Oh, please.
In fact, what King never counted on is that Denise, even from beyond the grave, was never going to allow him to get away with her kidnapping and murder.
We had an abundance of evidence, and a lot of that was from Denise herself.
At every turn, Denise left evidence to help the prosecution build their case. First, her heart-shaped ring in the car, the one she knew Nathan would immediately recognize. She left her hair elastic and her hair behind on the duct tape found in King's bedroom.
It was clever. She hid her ring in the back seat because she knew she wasn't going to be found, probably. She pulled hair out by the roots and stuck them under the back seats. She knew about DNA had to have the roots and stuff.
Denise thought like a cop. She had the presence of mind to take that ring off, put it in the car. She gave us of evidence knowing that we would find that car, and we know that she was in that car.
With both the prosecution and defense having presented their cases, the decision now rests with the jury. After 2 hours of deliberation, they return to the courtroom with a verdict.
We, the jury, find as follows as to count 1 of the indictment. The defendant is guilty of murder in the first degree as charged.
Michael King is sentenced to death for his crimes. A sense of relief spreads across the room. The family is in tears. Denise's efforts succeeded in catching her killer and ensuring he would never hurt anyone else ever again.
I knew, okay, Denise won. Denise won.
She's absolutely a hero. She took this murder off the street and made sure we had plenty of evidence, and there's no doubt in anybody's mind that he's a killer.
On behalf of my sons, Noah and Adam, I'd like to thank everybody so much. Denise was my soulmate. I'm going to miss her so much. I don't know how I'm going to go through the rest of my life without her.
Even after Michael's sentencing, Rick, Nathan, and Denise's family, saddened by their loss but proud of Denise's strength, want to ensure something like this will never happen again. Rick and his family believe that if the kidnapping witness's misfiled call had been properly dispatched, Denise could have been saved. Instead, the miscommunication meant that Rick and his team never even knew about the sighting until it was too late.
I wanted people that made mistakes to be held accountable.
It is the sheriff's responsibility to provide the best public safety that they possibly can to their citizens. And Denise wasn't given the best public safety to their citizens.
Their efforts led to meaningful change.
We had cars on the road waiting to apprehend the guy right where she was at. But they never dispatched the car. So, on behalf of my daughter, I'd like to see this bill passed.
They helped pass the Denise Amber Lee Act, which establishes new statewide standards for 911 operators, requiring them to complete more than 200 hours of training. Nathan also takes on a mission on his own and starts the Denise Amber Lee Foundation. He travels all over the country sharing Denise's story with 911 emergency operators.
Denise's story can change things. That was my coping. That was my medicine. That was my way of getting through this, was seeing Denise make a difference.
Denise's sister, Amanda, decides to become a 911 dispatcher in her sister's honor, determined to make a meaningful change in her everyday life. To this day, she remains dedicated to the profession. Denise's children, Noah and Adam, now young adults, carry their mother's story with pride. And finally, years later, Nathan is able to recover something deeply meaningful, a precious reminder of his wife.
Now that all of King's appeals are done and everything is over, we don't need this evidence anymore, and I was very happy to be able to release that to him.
There it is.
This is the ring that she has.
Yeah, it's special. I'm really glad I got this back, and I was really excited to show it to the boys, and that was the first thing they said. It was like, wow, she had really small fingers.
I always write her name in the clay before every at bat, just to know that she's there with me.
I always say she sacrificed herself to make sure we were safe. We came first.
We're a part of her, and I feel like people hearing from us can kind of see how important she was, how amazing she was.